Hi, this is Alken, and welcome back to my channel. Well, it did have to be a title for what's happened in New York this week. It probably say craziness in New York. Um, Wednesday, there was rumors about the issues with the congested pricing. That was a program that they ripped off from London. They were hoping to put it in place in New York in time around June 30th to start collecting $15 per car and more for trucks and discounts for other vehicles to collect a lot of money for the MTA, New York City Transit parent company, Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or as we like to call it, the More Trouble Ahead Agency. And unfortunately lived up to its name. Because of the Trump verdict, the week before on Thursday, apparently the speaker, the minority speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, told Governor Kathy Hochul of New York that if congested pricing were to go into effect on schedule June 30th, he feared that the Republicans would use that as a weapon to get back at them for what happened to Trump on Thursday and end up costing them any hope of getting back the seats they lost 2 years ago. Well, 2 years ago, the last election for the House of Representatives, they lost a lot of seats on Long Island. Since then, they only gained one seat back. They're trying to get the other seats, but they fear with congested pricing, they would lose all hope of getting back the House. That's their thought. And Kathy Hochul, without consulting with other people, and it turns out she doesn't have a backbone, decided to cancel this. I thought she had a press conference later on, but she had a pre-recorded message instead, explaining why she canceled it, and she comes up with this song and dance about, I know how New Yorkers, they're concerned about not able to support financially their pockets, their families, and so on. And we all know that's not the reason. Hakeem Jeffries was on an app for a local news. Eyewitness News New York 7 in New York, saying to her that yes, if congested pricing were to go into effect, they're going to use it as a weapon against us for what happened with Trump. And she thought saving those seats or trying to get those seats back from the control of the Republicans was more important than the congested pricing and the NTA and the supporters and so on. So she threw everybody under the bus. And there was a lot of angry people. So if New York was crazy enough as it is after what happened Wednesday, Friday would have made the situation worse. Had the verdict, we don't know for sure if what happened with this note is real or is a joke, because they had not come back and said, okay, we had determined this was a prank and we'll just have to move on. But had this note was real, and they tried to do mistrial, and let's say they decided to let the president go. Knowing what happened Wednesday, you had people already livid, angry, they lost something important to them. To have this bad news come on top of that, you would have had a lot of mass protests, like it was the George Floyd situation from 2020. That would not have been good. I know both parties has been told by Judge Warren Machon what happened. The post was found on the Facebook page, I think in another court. It was, and they found out about it Friday. Well, I mean, some people are saying, "Oh, it's just a prank. It's just a prank. No big deal," and so on. Well, it is a big deal. Like I said, if that scenario was bad enough and was real that they had a mistrial, with these people going nuts on Wednesday, they would have gotten a whole lot nuttier on Friday. You would have had a lot less problems. But they're investigating because they want to be 100% sure that this was a joke and not real. Because now it's just going to make things easier for Trump. They can say, well, you see why I believe that this court thing was a sham? Look at this note that came. Okay, but let me give you scenarios of something else. What would have happened had the jury had been deliberating and they had discovered that note sooner? Would you want the officials to come in and disrupt the deliberations to tell them what they just got this note, and they had to be all of a sudden interrogated, investigated to see which one of these jokers told the cousin that, we're about to find Trump guilty, and all the MAGA people are, loony, whatever the heck it was on there. No, it wouldn't have been so great, would it? Or it had been discovered on the 30th, and they came in before they had a chance to deliberate. All of a sudden, this was sprung on them. We don't know if there would have been a situation where after this, the jury may not want to stay on. Then you had to deliberate with the alternates. They wouldn't have been affected, but you would have been screwing with the minds of the jury. And you might have had a different result. You see what I'm getting at? Jury tampering. Or here's another scenario. That note said that his cousin is a female. Suppose one of those jurors was transgender. Would you want to be outed? This is New York, after all. Can you imagine there was a female that's now a male, doesn't want to tell anybody about that, and then all of a sudden you had some imbecile family member who wants to screw with you and decides to do this? None of these scenarios are good. Now, even though if it turned out to be a joke, that doesn't mean that the person who did the joke is off the hook. Far from it. Because like I said, if that note had been discovered sooner when the jury was deliberating and they had to be interrupted, that person would still be in trouble. Because that's tampering with a jury. And there's serious consequences to that. I know if a juror said something they weren't supposed to, they would be heavily fined and they would be jailed. And it's happened in the past. The juror did something they weren't supposed to and they ended up in jail. And somebody tampering with a jury, oh yeah, they go to jail too. So that's why it has to be taken seriously. I know some people say, "Oh, it's just a prank." No. When it is a court and there's a jury involved and it's a serious case, this is not the place to have a prank. Whether it's the President of the United States or Dingbat Jones jerking off on the corner, if they're in the middle of jury deliberation, you cannot be messing with that jury. Simple as that. So we have to see what the outcome is. If there was a juror who was opening their mouth and giving out information they weren't supposed to, then that juror needs to be punished. If it turns out to be a prank, then the prankster has to be punished. Because you cannot have somebody joking around disrupting the court. Simple as that. And I'm surprised the Judge Juan Machon did not blow his top. Or if he did, nobody heard him or saw him. But either way, nobody's happy. Nobody's laughing. Nobody is in the mood for this. Because like I said, they had to do a mistrial, they couldn't let him go because you probably would have protests and riots in the street in New York. And if it was fake, the Joker has to still be held accountable. And now, Trump's team can now go to the court, the other courts, and say, listen, this is why we cannot trust the court system. They found this note a week late. Whether it was a joke or not, the appellate court and the court on top of it may not find that funny either. And definitely not the Supreme Court. If you read the rules of being on a jury, it specifically says you cannot talk about this case, read papers or whatever it is. You cannot talk about it outside of court with family, friends, members, and so on. And being that this jury was not sequestered, it just made the situation a whole lot worse. But, that's what the judge wanted to do, and we can't say nothing more. All he could say is he made his bed and now he's got to sleep in it. Now he's got to worry whether he has to declare a mistrial or not. And by the way, there's another reason we're pissed. They spent a lot of money on this Trump trial. A lot of money. This case probably cost them millions and millions of dollars. And that doesn't include the security that they had to have to protect the court building. We're not talking about the Secret Service, NYPD, and other services. That's a lot of money to end up being wasted because of a prankster or a juror. No. That is why we're taking it seriously. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of things at stake. And don't forget, if this thing gets overturned, we don't know when it's going to be rescheduled. They may not have time to put it back on the schedule. And somebody in the White House is anxious to call the former president a convicted felon. If this gets overturned, he's not going to be able to do that at the debate. See? Sometimes your actions has consequences. So, all you jokers who like to fool around, this is not the place for it. Because like I said, if the court decides to make an example out of you, we can't help you. You're screwed. Really screwed. They're not going to give you a slap on the wrist. No. They're going to throw you behind in jail and make sure you rot there. See, so that nobody else does this again. I'm sure they're going to have to change all the procedures so this does not happen again. Anyway, this is Al Ken saying so long for now, and don't forget your style. Yes, I guess New York City's now crazy town, isn't it?